Indiana frickin' Democrats. It is awesome. It is awesome to see you. It is awesome to feel the energy in this room. It is awesome to see just how many of you are here. And let me just say, a few people have said it already tonight. I just want to appreciate how hard it is to be a Democrat in a red place. You all, I see you, I hear you. It is easy to be a Democrat in Manhattan or Los Angeles. It is a different thing to be a Democrat from Indiana and to be scrapping and fighting and clawing, and I appreciate that. I want to thank Joe for introducing me. Your neighbors to the north do have a love and a respect for labor. Thank you to everyone who's a part of the labor movement. All depend on you all. Our eminent chair. Oh, there she is. She moved. She's sitting in my chair. Madam Chair. Courtesy or whatever the right formality is. Thank you for all the work that you do on behalf of everybody. I was happy to see the videos from my peers, Andre Parson and Frank Mervan. We need every Democrat we can get, and you guys are going to send some new congressional leaders to Washington. And again, thank you to one of our key sponsors. I think Liuna Laborers are here somewhere. They are one of our key sponsors. Thank you, Liuna. Okay, for those, just in case you walked into the wrong room, I understand Comic-Con is across the street, so I am Elissa Slotkin. I am indeed the newest senator from the great state of Michigan to your north. And as you heard, I come from a very different background than politics. I'm a national security person by training. I'm what's called a 9/11 baby. I happened to be in New York City on my second day of grad school when 9/11 happened. Completely changed my life. I'm sure many of you remember what you were doing and who you were with and what you were thinking when that day happened. For me, by the time the smoke cleared that day, I knew I was going to go into national security. Got recruited by the CIA right out of grad school, and within a year was sent on my first of 3 tours in Iraq. So I went to weapons training and combat medicine, and I was sent out with the military to help them understand the groups that were shooting at U.S. forces and plotting against the U.S. homeland. And I proudly served, as many of you did, in an environment that was completely apolitical. Because shouldn't our intelligence community and our military be strictly apolitical? National security life. I worked under President Bush, and I had the opportunity to work in the White House for President Obama, and then President Obama, and then was nominated by him to be an Assistant Secretary of Defense at the Pentagon, and that's where I was when Trump won the first time. And similarly, we all remember where we were and what we were doing and who we were with. It was a generational event, right? That night, that election night in 2016. I was trying to figure out what to do after leaving the Pentagon, and I came home to Holly, Michigan, where I live on my family farm now. My family was in the hot dog business, and if you are good Midwesterners, please frickin' clap for the hot dog. We are hot dog people. And I came home and I went to my first political meeting, and I met someone here from Indivisible. I literally Googled local Democratic Party, Holly, Michigan, and there was no such thing because I live in a place where I've never won my town, I've never won my precinct, I've never won my neighbors, and you know what it's like to run in one of these places, right? There's some people from Michigan here who came down from my old congressional district, and they will tell you that the place that I ran the first time was a Republican-drawn district that feels a lot like kind of running in Indiana. We know of 2, not 1, but 2 fake book clubs. Women who literally told their husbands, "Husband, I'm going off to book club," and they would come and volunteer at our campaign office. You all in understand who has some friends, maybe they're not here, who are undercover Democrats, right? Who knows some ladies who maybe don't tell their husbands that they're closet Democrats, right? We know the type. Or who knows people who, they're Democrats, but they would never be able to put a yard sign in their front yard. It would be shot up, it would be stolen, it would be all kinds of. So that's the congressional district that I came from, and we flipped in 2018 in another wave year. And I think the thing that that I appreciate about coming down to Indiana is we have a lot in common, right? We have a lot in common in terms of the politics. We are more purple, you are definitely more pink, more red. But we have some cultural ties that bind us. And I always think about this one because I've been on kind of a tour of the Midwest trying to stand up for those of us who are Democrats in the middle of the country, not just on our coastal states. You know, in Michigan, we point to the hand to show you where we're from. I understand Indiana, you also do such a thing, a little bit of a palm situation. Do I have that right? Someone, no? No. Oh, geez. Not Indianapolis, just like, no. Okay, let me try again. Do we share a love of football in our story? Okay, thank you. Yes, I have to say, as someone who has University of Michigan and Michigan State, it's been a little bit tough to watch the Hoosiers do so well. But you know what, if someone's going to win it, I'd rather it be Big Ten than SEC. We understand in the Midwest that when we leave the Midwest, we're all kind of from the Midwest, but when we're back home, we have our rivalries, right? We have our rivalries. And I was in Kansas, and they are like hardcore against Missouri. Wisconsin and Illinois, it is prickly between the two of them. But I understand a lot of your rivalries are internal. You've got the like Purdue, IU things going on. Yeah, I hear it. But because you've come up in the world, especially your football team, I understand that maybe you're now with Michigan, and when it comes to deeply hating Ohio, can I get off on the right foot? Okay. So I appreciate that we have some cultural similarities between you all and us, and the point is that Midwesterners understand that we are practical people. We believe in grit and hard work. We believe in being straightforward. We don't put on airs, and that is something I think the rest of the country could learn from, right? Those values that we share. And I got to meet some of my personal heroes who have just been mingling about here. It was great to, I've never met Evan Bai in the flesh, so I was very happy to meet Evan Bai. Joe Donnelly was here. I don't know if Joe is still floating around. These are like original OG Midwestern Democrats who helped set the example for those of us. And we are thrilled to have them still involved. Thank you for continuing to be engaged. That is a big deal. We have your incredible mayor. I love the mayor love that goes on in Indiana, and I understand it's because we don't have as many statewide yet and national congressional leaders yet, but you have some mayors in this state, and I just want to appreciate mayors who have been up here. And I want to take a second to recognize all the people who have decided to run this year. I've met a number of you. It is not easy, and I just want to tell you, as someone who has been in politics about 7-8 years, when I ran for the first time, it is totally normal that every 10 days you have a complete, like, why the hell did I decide to do this? If you don't have that every 10-day question, something's wrong with you. And what I would say is it is totally fine to take the evening off, to go watch your trash television, to go take your kids somewhere. Just wake up the next morning and get ready to get back in the fight because we need you, and I thank you to our candidates. I want to talk a little bit about where we are as a country. If you guys know, this is a pretty tough moment for our country. I don't know if I'm the only one who's found it ironic that we're having our 250th anniversary this year, coming up in just about a month. And it feels, it feels somehow poignant or strange that on such an important anniversary where we're thinking about the founding of our country, we're going through something here, right? I think about it as our 250th, like, we're not that old as a country compared to the Europeans and everything. We are in full-on teenage rage mode right now in the United States of America, and those of you who have raised teenagers know that it is tough, right? Every single day is tough, but we will get through it. And I want to lay out a plan for how we come through the darkness, through the tunnel, and into the light as a country, because this is the place we love. It is where our kids and our grandkids are going to inherit, and it is our responsibility, not just our privilege, but our responsibility to fight on behalf of the country that we love. So, I'm going to talk about that. What I believe is the existential threat to the country right now. Okay, I think if we think about, there's so many problems, and I understand, especially as a CIA analyst and someone who worked alongside the military, when you have a ton of problems, it's almost impossible sometimes to feel like you can kind of counter everything. And I will tell you that I think the root of the problem, the thing that is behind so many of our problems, is the existential threat we have to the middle class in America. I think that it's not a threat from terrorism or a nation state. It is the fact that for the first time since World War II, the middle class is shrinking. And what does it mean to wake up in America and say, I'm working 40 hours a week, I have a job, I'm playing by the rules, I'm doing everything right, but I cannot get ahead. And I'm not doing well, and my kids are set up to do worse than me. If that becomes a reality and we do not reverse that, then what it means to be American, what it means to truly have freedom in this country will look totally different for the next generation. And that economic piece is what binds us. You know, I think it is important that we have unity, especially in a place like the Midwest, as Democrats. Because the thing that we all share, whether you're a recent college graduate and you have so much debt you can't move out on your own, or you're working in a UAW plant and you can't go take the kids to Disneyland the way your parents took you to Disneyland. You can't send your kid to summer camp. The thing that unites us is that we can't seem to save enough to get ahead, whereas it felt like in the past you maybe could do that if you just worked hard. That is dangerous in the United States of America. We are a diverse place. And if you cannot get ahead by working hard, then what do? You feel shame, you feel frustration, you feel anger, and you look to blame someone who doesn't look like you, or talk like you, or pray like you. That is a recipe for a problem. So when I go to understand Trump, when I go to understand how we move forward, we have got to attack that problem, the threat, the existential threat to the middle class, and the American dream. That is how we achieve true freedom. And I think we are all here not just to, show our stripes as Democrats, but to have freedom from want, that security, that economic security that lets us live our best lives. So that is what I'm about. And I feel like the Midwest, again, is ground zero for this fight. Now, it is hard to talk about going on offense against Donald Trump when every single day there is just a million horrors that you wake up to when you roll over and check your phone or turn on your news, right? It is very hard. What I would ask you to think about, and again, this comes from a national security background, is Donald Trump is trying to distract you. The Republicans of Indiana are trying to distract you. They actually like when we're constantly looking in different directions. When we're arguing amongst ourselves over the crumbs, they are thrilled, right? They are thrilled. And so if we're going to figure out what to invest our time in, I want you to think about, as a planner, I would tell you this, the things that Donald Trump is doing that are strategic and irreversible. Right? Because if it's tactical and reversible, we'll get there. We will have our day. We will have accountability, right? When we take back things like the House of Representatives, the Senate, when we start being able to put people in the judiciary, like we understand accountability. But there are some things that this man is doing that are strategic and irreversible, and those are the things we need to attack. Now, you heard the conversation about myself and Senator Mark Kelly and others who made a simple 90-second video that just restated the law. And Donald Trump, as we say, went high and right. I mean, the man tweeted a dozen times that we should be investigated, arrested, and hanged. And when the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, says that you should be hanged, the crazies come out of the woodwork, right? You go on 24/7 security. I had bomb threats at my house. They swatted my parents in the middle of the night. My dad, in his last month of life, was dealing with cops banging on his door based on fake threats that had been called in. We had cop cars parked in our driveways, suspicious packages, the whole crazy. And then came the investigations, right? The FBI and the Department of Justice. Now, the lesson, in December, I got some legal advice that was, look, they're coming for you. And we think that if you just quiet down and keep your head down and stop talking about what the president's doing and how he's weaponizing the government against you, then this will just blow over. Christmas is coming, it'll die down, so just kind of keep your head down. And I'll be honest that when they're threatening your parents, right, when they're threatening your family, you think twice about, what to do. I will be frank about that. So I did. I went a bit quieter in December, and Christmas came, and we all, went back home. And January 3rd, I came back, and they doubled down and said, now we're going to personally we need to sit down with you, we need to investigate all these other people, and they came in with yet another investigation. And I think the lesson for me was, if you think you can accommodate people, if you think you can keep your head in the sand like an ostrich and things will just get better, there is no frickin' way. It does not work that way, and it does not keep you safe. But what I think Donald Trump is doing, because I lived it and now I see it every day in Washington, is he is weaponizing the federal government against people he perceives as adversaries and against what he perceives as political competition, right? So we need to understand that. We need to own it and investigate it. Certainly in Michigan, we know that the president is coming for our voting machines and our voting rolls. We understand that he is willing to put federal law enforcement and uniformed military at our polling locations, coming for our information. This is a real thing. This is a real thing. So we have to be vigilant about going after that. But the other thing that this president is doing that is both strategic and irreversible, and is deeply connected to the state of Indiana and what you guys are going through right now, is the unprecedented level of corruption that is going on from the White House on down. And I want to tell you a story that I hope will be useful for those of you, particularly those of you running, but for all of you who work and believe that Democrats can succeed in Indiana. About how corruption at the top actually fouls the process on the ground and allows for us to do some really important winning in the state. Because I know you've heard a lot just in the few hours I've been here about the corruption that has seeped into the Indiana Republican Party. Okay, who has heard of what just happened in the elections in Hungary? Anyone hear about that? Okay. Surface, it seems like it's very far away. This little country in Europe finally flips their seats, their president. Okay, this story is directly connected to Indiana. So we have this guy named Viktor Orban, and he comes in, and he's very brash, he's very opinionated, he says what he wants, he's bold, and he says, hey, people of Hungary, I'm going to put more money in your pocket. Okay, I'm going to save the economy in Hungary, I'm going to make you richer. And so if I do some things around corruption, if I do some things around democracy, and I fire a bunch of media and university people who speak out against me, don't worry, because I'm going to put more money in your pocket. That was the deal that Viktor Orban struck with the Hungarian people. And for a while, they were down with that deal. They were okay with that deal. They looked the other way as their democracy started to get kind of paper cut from the bottom up, okay? Meanwhile, Viktor Orban is absolutely milking the cow that is his country. He is making money for himself and his family. He has all these eccentric billionaire friends who are into weird things, who get all kinds of contracts, who are up to their eyeballs in corruption. And again, it doesn't start to really affect people because they assume politicians of both parties, frankly, are corrupt. And then it starts to seep down to the provinces and the states. Suddenly, the local people in local communities are corrupt. Suddenly, they find that taxpayer dollars is being abused in rural places. You can't build a bridge or a tunnel. You cannot succeed and get things done in rural places in Hungary without paying off some friend of Viktor Orban. And people start to get pissed, right? The opposition actually flew some drones over Viktor Orban's house and his billionaire eccentric best friend. And they found, of all things, hiding behind really tall walls of the billionaire friends, they found that he was, as a sort of pet project, he was keeping a herd of zebras for his pets. That became the symbol of opposition in Hungary. They had carried zebras at every protest. At every vigil, they had giant blimps of zebras, and it was all about the symbol of corruption and rot. And eventually, the people of Hungary said, that's it. It doesn't matter how much you say you're going to fix our economy. By the way, our prices are going up. Is there one cost in your life today that has gone down since Donald Trump took office? Not a single thing, right? Actually, before the war in Iran, I would have said the one thing that has come down under Trump was the price of gas. And now, as we know, because of the war in Iran, every single one of you is paying for that war every time you go to the pump. Every single one of you. So, they overthrew Viktor Orban. At the very end, he got very stressed that he was going to lose, so he tried to fake a security incident and say, I need to call in the federal police and the military. Only I can save the Hungarian people from security threats. If this sounds familiar to you, okay, I want you to remember that there is an authoritarian playbook that Trump and his people are following every single day. It's not creative. It's not new, and the way that you push back against authoritarians is you don't sit on your hands, you stand up every single day against these people. Every single day. I had about 90 minutes sleep in the past 36 hours, so I apologize. I realize I'm getting long here. But one of the things we were doing yesterday and up all night doing was blocking the formation of a $1.8 billion weaponization that Donald Trump wanted to use for so-called victims of the judicial system. Violent criminals who had been convicted of violent crimes. This includes a man who was sentenced to prison for tasing a police officer at the Capitol, one of the Capitol police officers, on January 6th, where I barricaded myself inside my office. They tased him. He had a heart attack, permanent brain damage. And this man, Donald Trump believes, is the example of who should get taxpayer dollars back for his pain. Okay? So we voted that down yesterday. Along with some Republican support, right? My Republican colleagues also weighed in, which is nice to see. I appreciate that. The other thing that we blocked yesterday was the SAVE Act, right? Which was literally allow this administration to rig our democracy so that it would be hard for any Democrat in any state to win any election. And disenfranchise all married women in the meantime, by the way. It just, you have to show your birth certificate at the polls if you have a married name. So all this to say is that I want you to figure out what it is you are going to do this election cycle that's a half a click more than you are used to doing. What is the one thing that you are going to do that's a half a click more than you're used to doing. Because, and I'll close with this, I am a big student of history. I find it important to get through my life every day to understand the arc of history and that this is not the end. This is not the end, okay? Our country has had very difficult moments before. Can you imagine what it was like sitting in a big event like this in the middle of the Civil War when Americans are killing each other across a battlefield? Can you imagine what it was like to be sitting in a room like this during the Depression, where there's bread lines and no employment, and you're wondering if the experiment of democracy in America is over? Or the McCarthy hearings, where people were diming each other out as communists just to get back at each other, and it was a constant state of fear? Or what it was like when people were being drafted to Vietnam and our country was splitting apart over controversy over that war? The civil rights movement, where people are literally being hosed in the streets for standing up for their own rights. This is not the only difficult moment that our country has faced. And as a female senator who wouldn't be here had it not been for 100 years of women fighting for the right to vote, we do not have a get out of jail free card. This is our moment to save our country. This is our moment to stand up for it. And in every single one of those chapters, when we have gotten through tough times, how have we gotten through it? We've gotten through it with two things, always. One, engaged citizens, and two, principled leaders. Every single time you have engaged citizens who do a little bit more than they're used to doing, a couple clicks more, and you have principled leaders ready to receive the ball and do something about it. So just by being here, and thank you to this woman who is like my one-woman hype show. Just by being here, right, by showing up, you are demonstrating that you are engaged citizens, you care about your community and your country because you want it to be better. And I know that all the people on the ballot, all the people who are in office right now, all those amazing mayors, all those people who are running in tough, hard places where it's a slog every single day, and certainly me as your adopted Midwestern senator, I'm adopting you. We will be the principled leaders that you deserve, so please do not give up the ship. This is our country, and we are not going down right now. We are going to